This whole confusion is about understanding the duality of existence, understanding the duality of life. And when we understand the duality of existence, it will be easy for us to be able to navigate our way through this physical cosmos and what we need to do in order to get what we have to get or what we desire to get. Because one thing we should understand is that in this physical dimension, any form of material benefit, be it wealth, be it money, be it prosperity, be it food, be it health, be anything within this material dimension is governed by the feminine energy. Okay, welcome to today's live session. We're going to talk about something which is very common. You've been hearing it. I've been seeing a lot of teachers trying to ask you to do a lot of rituals with that kind of exercise. But I've taken this time to educate you more on this particular topic in order for you to have full scope and understanding of this topic and how best you can use it, because Bible says that for lack of knowledge my people perish. And if you are doing certain prayers and certain ritual exercises without understanding it, it's very difficult to have manifestation, because it is said that our intentions create manifestations. So understanding this particular topic and its full scope and the benefit you have on this on us will help us to be in a better position to understand how we can take advantage of this energy and then use it to our utmost benefit. Most often than not, I keep hearing teachers talking about using the moon, but I hardly do see somebody, well, it may be there, but I have yet not come across any teacher trying to give you the detailed teaching regarding the moon's energy and why we have to use this moon energy. In as much as I believe that using the moon energy is quite a low vibrational frequency and has influences on people who have not risen their consciousness beyond the celestial heavenly bodies, and basically souls that are undeveloped, yet to have the knowledge is not something which is bad, because it's going to help you to function properly and do your rituals appropriately. Before we commence, I want us to read a short statement written by Joseph Campbell in the book In the House of the Moon. This is the book. The title of the book is In the House of the Moon. Reclaiming the feminine spirit of healing. And this book basically talks about how to use the feminine energy to do healing and all those things, because healing actually is feminine, it's not masculine by nature. And to understand what you are talking about, you realize that you should know that the energies in this world are functioning either based on the feminine aspect or on the masculine aspect, and which of them is more closer to us and which of them is more beneficial. So these are things you are going to digest and then try to bring to light their various roles they play within manifest creation, and how to take advantage of them if we so please and want to use it. Now, this is what Joseph Campbell said. He says that when you have a goddess as the creator, it's her own body that is the universe. She is identical with the universe. She is the whole sphere of the life enclosing heavens. And this is a very, 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 very deep statement. And if you understand this statement, it's easy for you to have a lot of material benefits in this physical dimension. Because one thing we should understand is that in this physical dimension, any form of material benefit, be it wealth, be it money, be it prosperity, be it food, be it health, be anything within this material dimension is governed by the feminine energy. And the universe itself, the physical manifestation of this universe itself, is the feminine energy. So the universe itself is a womb. The universe itself is a womb, and time is the womb in which we all live and move and have our being. So today we are going to see the difference between God and goddess. Christianity has always talked about God, 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 but I'm yet to hear any pastor talk about the goddess. You understand? I'm yet to have any pastor talk about the goddess, because you can never have any life in this manifest creation with a man without a woman, a masculine without a feminine. So if you talk about God in this life, then where is the goddess to God that will make life possible? And basically this is what has brought a lot of confusion, that some churches, I have seen a few churches from Korea that talk about God having a feminine side, having a wife and all those things. That is the misconception. And there are other people that talk about God the Father, God the Mother. There are some prayers too like that from other Egyptian ideologies and Egyptology systems and all those things. So this whole confusion is about understanding the duality of existence, understanding the duality of life, understanding the duality of existence. And when we understand the duality of existence, it will be easy for us to be able to navigate our way through this physical cosmos and what we need to do in order to get what we have to get or what we desire to get. And these are some of the missing codes that are missing in modern day religions, that is making it difficult for people to harness and to understand what life is all about. To be able to live life effortless with minimum stress, I always state and say that you must understand the dynamics of this life. You just don't live the life anyhow. And this is the problem with our Muslim brothers and our Christian brothers. We don't try to understand the dynamics of life and what actually runs this universe. Once we understand it, it becomes much more easier. And when you are ignorant of the knowledge that runs this universe, if you are ignorant of the dynamics that runs this physical cosmos, then it becomes difficult and then you struggle. So before I proceed to today's topic, which I have themed it, the moon energy and its benefit to life, how you can benefit from the feminine energy, I would first want to explain in a brief presentation how creation comes to be. I want to explain in a brief presentation how creation comes to be and the energies that run creation. When you understand how creation comes to be and the energy that runs creation, how the energy manifests in this dimension, then you begin to appreciate the dynamics of this life and be able to take advantage of the dynamics. So now, this is how creation is. Before this manifest creation, this physical dimension, this physical world we talk about, the total physical world is the feminine aspect of the non-physical world. So if you see this physical world, there is an aspect of this physical world which is intangible, which you cannot see, which you cannot feel, which you cannot touch. And these two energy fields come together to create manifestations of different experiences in this life form. Now, at the very apex of all these happenings sits the unit of a single energy, which you call the union, or which you call the source. In this source, there's nothing like feminine or masculine. It is just power. It is just energy. This source is what we call the sublime intelligence, or the infinite intelligence. Literally, probably, we will call it God. This source is beyond the creator. Because the creator is the masculine aspect of this energy. The creator is the masculine aspect of this energy. And it may appear a little bit contradictory to what Islamic or Christianity is saying, but it is not contradictory, but it's a deeper version of what they are saying. It's still about the same creation line, but when you watch the creation record of the Quran and the Bible, excuse my language, you realize that there's something missing because it does not fit well and synchronize with the reality on the ground. Because when you watch the whole of creation within the realm of duality, it has always been male and female, man and woman. Even the plants, they have their female version and they have their male version. So if you are talking about creation, you should have a male version of the energy that unites with the female version of the energy in order to bring about manifestation. Now, beyond these two energies lies the source to all these two energies. So then it becomes like a tree of life. So we have the source, which is the top hierarchy, okay, or in physical, in our earthly dimension, if it's a company, we call it the chief executive or the CEO. Okay, then we have a branch and then another branch. I don't know if I can get what I want to know. I don't know if I can get. Probably they will do the diagram and then paste it on the screen. So we would have something like this. We have something like this. Okay. Then we are going to have something like this. So fundamentally, we are going to have something like this. I don't know if it's visible. Is it visible? Not too visible, but I'll give it to you to. So at the top here, we have the source, which is what we call the unit energy. It's non-duality. It's neither male nor female. That's why there are some religions that says that God is what? Hermaphrodite. It's male and female all together. You know, all those things are misconceptions, trying to explain that which the intellect cannot get. You understand? So at source, it is pure intelligence. Intelligence is neither male or female. It's neither masculine or feminine. It is pure knowingness. It is pure beingness. Now, when this intelligence drops or degrades its vibration frequency, it's split into duality. This is where creation begins. Okay? This is where creation begins. So then we have the feminine energy and then we have the masculine energy. So if there is a God, there is the masculine God and then there's the feminine goddess. And it is these two, masculine God and the feminine goddess, that unites its energy to bring about multiplication and reprocreation. Now, most religions has taught us about the masculine aspect of God. So God has always been referred to as the masculine energy, has always been referred to as a man. And they have left out the feminine aspect of that same energy. If there's no feminine aspect of that energy, then where do women come from? Where does she-goats come from? All the feminine aspect of the beast, where do they come from? Where do they have their inheritance of energy from? So that energy we call the source or the intelligence, in its sub-intelligence lies the feminine energy and the masculine energy. And it is the manifestation of the spirit of the masculine energy and the feminine energy that creates what we call duality or polarity in creation. So we have the negative pole and you have the what? The positive pole. You have the negative current and you have the positive side of the current. If one of these things is absent, there is no way life can be created or there is no way power can be produced. So when you watch the yin yang, okay, the yin yang, that is the Chinese symbol. So you will put it on it. The yin yang, the Chinese symbol, which has the white and the black. The yang is the masculine energy, and then the yin is the feminine energy. The yang is more analytical, and then the yin is more emotional. So they say that as above, so below. As above, so below. So the energy that brings about manifestation is the union between the yin and then the yang. The male energy and then the female energy. We have heard a lot about the male energy. We have heard a lot about God. What about the goddess, which is the female energy? When I said about God, I'm not talking about any marine spirit or something like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about pure energy without formlessness. Pure energy without formlessness. And I want to tell you for a fact that if you want to prosper in this material dimension and you have no regard for the feminine energy, forget it, you can never prosper. Because every prosperity that you are supposed to experience in this lifetime comes from the feminine energy. And everything is conceived in the feminine energy. Now, there's the split of the union energy, which brings about the feminine and the masculine energy. The masculine energy is what we call the light. And the feminine energy is what we call what? The darkness. So the notion that has been created by religious and theological institutions that darkness simply means evil is wrong. So when the energy from the source splits into duality, we have the light and then we have what? The darkness. And this light and darkness form what we call a day. And this day makes life possible on earth or within this manifest creation. If we have a manifest creation that is full of daylight without darkness, there can never be life on earth. Because the world will be too hot to be habitable. And if we have a universe without light and it's all darkness, there can never be life on earth, because the earth will be too cold, or the universe will be too cold for life to exist here. Hence, the duality is necessary for the propagation and making of existence possible. And this same duality is coming from the source. Later on, we'll come and talk about what they talk about darkness as evil. Because the darkness they talk about, which is the power that causes manifestation, is not black. So when somebody is talking about diabolic magic or black magic, darkness is not black. Darkness actually is sepia blue, which is power. And that causes manifestation. And wherever life will be abundant and will be possible, and there is excess presence of light, that life is destroyed. So everything must be kept in a balance. This is the foundation or the premise I want to set to give you clarity. Because a lot of things you have been told by the religious institution and the elites and the political class, most of them are false and they are indoctrinations. Because they understand that there is the need for them to keep the masses ignorant. For the masses not to have material liberation so they can control the masses. Hence, that which can give us material liberation, they relegated it and marginalized it. And that is why the world over, before the 21st century, the feminine energy of women has been marginalized. Go to the Bible, women has been marginalized. Go to the Quran, women has been marginalized. Go to most of this Eastern religion, women has been marginalized. Even there were certain Buddhist temples, that Buddha monasteries, that did not admit women as monks or nuns in those monasteries. So it is not about women which are being marginalized, but it is about marginalizing the feminine energy, which is the counterpart to creation, to the masculine energy. And the elites that did this understood the dynamics of life, and they deliberately created that, whereas they maintain the obeisance and respect to the feminine energy, so they always prosper in everything that they do. But they don't want this knowledge to be public. So they say that, they come to the Bible and say the man is the head of the family. The man is not the head of the family. That is not true. By natural phenomena and watching of how nature unfolds itself, man is not the head of the family. Because man and woman are equal powers. When I am saying this, I am not saying a disrespect or disregard for hierarchy, but I am telling you what the truth is. And any man who have no respect for woman, or woman as a woman, which represent the feminine energy, I can guarantee his end. No matter how prosperous he may appear to be now, his end is very bleak. Because without doubt, I know with all the powers I have within my being, that the only energy that sustains prosperity and material well-being is the feminine energy. And that we will call the earth or the universe. And we must understand this. And that is why most of these elite communities appears to give a lot of credence and a lot of privileges to women compared to the underdeveloped nations. So the duality that was created in terms of the masculine and the feminine, in terms of light and darkness, have their individually assigned responsibilities and obligations. That is supposed to run at par. It must not run off balance. And one of the reasons why our world has never had peace is because there's a disparity and there's a segregation in the energy that runs this universe. And if anybody is listening and has a link to the United Nations, the world peace they want, if they want the world peace to be achieved easily, they should balance the polarity. That's all. As long as there remain a marginalization against the energies of duality that's supposed to run our power and in a balanced form to ensure reprocreation and peace and balance in this world, as long as there's a marginalization, we can never experience universal peace. And that is why now this whole thing is coming to light. So when you go to all these countries who have been programmed by their political leaders and religious leaders to disrespect women, they are all fighting for what do you call it? Gender right, or gender equality. They are fighting for what? Gender what? Equality. So they say, oh, even every government, when you come, you have to give certain number of women position in your government in order to bring women apart. Let certain number of women head this thing. It is not about women, but it's about the recognition of the feminine energy, which is the opposite or the counterpart to the masculine energy, in order to make life peaceful and balanced and harmonious in this physical dimension. And we must understand this. This we must understand without doubt and without asking questions, because it is what it is. And your belief system is immaterial to the truth of nature and or the truth of existence. Look at our brothers in other nations who disrespect women and marginalize them against women and make women dress in awkward way. You realize that they have so much money, yet they are very backward. They look very uncivilized. That is the truth. They have so much money, but yet they look very uncivilized. So, if you're a man and you want to be successful in life, I am giving you the greatest secret of all times that nobody may have told you. Begin to reverence the feminine energy. And in this reverence of this feminine energy, I have come across a lot of people doing a lot of video that, excuse my language, if you can make, you might make your wife naked himself and do prayers to her. That is not what it is. It is absolute absurd. It's absolute absurdity and absolutely abnormal. These are other forms of, I don't want to use the word evil practices, but influenced by this evil polarity to create a form of deification worship or idol worship. Because it's not about the physical genitalia, but it's about the energy behind the frequency. So, for instance, somebody makes the wife strip naked and then bow down and make prayers to the physical feminine genitalia and then go around beating women and disrespecting women. There's no way that person will have blessings. It has never ever been about the physical genitalia, but it has always been about the energy that is running everything within this physical cosmos. So we must understand this. If you want to prosper, you must try to take time and study the feminine energy and how it functions, and pay obeisance and pay respect and honor the feminine energy. Nothing. Listen, sometimes it's a pity. And as I said, I'm putting together a whole wealth creation model. They are simple principles. Listen, there are two energies that if you want to be materially successful, it's only two. Because the universe is made up of 4 elements. The universe is made up of 4 elements, which is water, fire, air, and earth. And there is the master fifth element, which is the ether, which is the aspect of the energy that comes about 4% that makes them have mystical experiences. But predominantly, it is this 4 elements. Water comes to about 72%. Earth constitutes about 12%, fire constitutes about 6%, and then air constitutes about 6%. This 4 forms the physical tangibility of this physical dimension. And then the ether drives these 4 elements and makes them functional. Now, what is happening is this. Out of these 2 elements is feminine, and out of these 2 elements is masculine. Now, if you want to be successful, honor the water element and then the earth element. And then your many hours of prayers. And there's a way you honor the water element and you honor the air element, the earth element. But the water element and the earth element is the element that runs the feminine energy. And the air element and then the fire element runs the masculine flow of the energy into this physical cosmos. So if you want to have a lot of intelligence, a lot of knowledge, a lot of power, everything, all those things, honor the air and then honor the fire. And if you want to have a lot of have material wealth and progress and prosper in this physical dimension, have a strong health, honor the feminine energy, which is the water element and then the earth element. And there's the way you go about that, because the water element and the earth element has energies that control them, and then the air element and the fire element also have energies that control them, and they have their ruling angels. You'll be struggling. So that but that money this world is governed by principles. And you must understand the principle and just act by it. You are not supposed to live life in a variance against the cosmic current. You must flow with the cosmic current. Then you live life effortless. So I repeat, if you want to be materially successful and materially wealthy, you must understand the dynamics of the water element and the dynamics of the earth element. Because the water element and the earth element runs what you call your magnetic field. And then the air element and then the fire element run what you call your electrical field. Now it is your electrical field and then your magnetic field determines your entire energy space in this physical dimension. And that's why I say that, and quantum physics says that we have electromagnetic energy, or we are electromagnetic field energy. So the feminine aspect that brings materialization is the magnetic field, and the masculine aspect that fuel energy to the feminine aspect is the electrical field. So it so comes to the point that this is who you are. From the heart energy center downwards is your magnetic field that connects to the spinal cord, feed into what you call the pituitary gland. How many spiritual teachers talk about the pituitary gland? Because the elite don't want you to know. And your material success does not come from your pineal gland, it comes from your pituitary gland. So all those of you who are thinking to be successful and they think they are struggling, so they want to open their third eye, activate their pineal gland so they'll be successful, I can promise you that you can never be successful. And that is why most of the world's richest people are not monks. They are not gurus. And some of the world's suffering people are the monks and the gurus. Because by activating your pineal gland or your third eye, there is no way to bring you success. It only feeds energy to your pituitary gland that governs your nervous system through the spinal cord and connects to your magnetic field, which is your feminine energy, and through that feminine energy it brings multiplicity and it brings prosperity. It's a principle. It is divine. And once you understand it, now you are set to have control in this physical dimension. So I repeat, if you want to get out of your financial hustles, any problem you are having in this material world, whether it's health, whether it is marriage, whether it is business, any problem you are having in this material world and you want a solution, contact your mother. When I say your mother, I'm not talking about your physical mother, I'm talking about the feminine energy, the earth element, and then the water element. And no wonder, predominantly by virtue of percentages in the distribution of the 4 elements, they have the highest number. Because the water is 72, I think, and then the air is the earth is 12%. The air and earth is only 6% each, and the ether takes 4%. And no wonder your entire body is predominantly water, and no wonder the entire earth is predominantly water. So when you watch creation, the records of creation, the first two things that was separated was what? Water, and then earth came. Because this is what controls the manifestation. They needed these 2 elements in order for life to be possible on earth. So he said, Genesis 1 said, let the water separate from the water, and out of the water, God causes the earth to be. So the first 2 things God created, the masculine energy needed to cause multiplicity and reproduction, he needed the feminine energy of itself. So when the Bible says that, and God created and let the water separate from the waters and created the earth out of the water, he was creating the feminine aspect of that energy, which is masculine, so that the 2 will come together for reproduction to come and for life to be possible. So this we must understand, that to be successful, you can do amount of rituals. You look at some of these world richest people. How many rituals do they do? Some of them even don't really pay attention to these things. A little bit of man work, a little bit of emotional work, balance their energy, and they are gone. Nothing is happening. It is not just about bathing these Tamil woos and bathing these nyenyas and doing all these things. It's about understanding the dynamics and how to work in this manifest creation. Because the life we are living right now, it's far, far beyond all this fundamental terrestrial knowledge. So today, this is just the preamble, so you know how much in-depth knowledge you're going to have today. So we are considering the feminine energy, which is represented at its apex, is represented by the moon. So you are considering the feminine energy and its benefit to life and how you can benefit from the feminine energy. So you are considering the moon energy and its benefit to life, how you can benefit from the feminine energy. And I can tell you, these things the Chinese do a lot. You see the Chinese, a woman, they will take watermelon, how do you call this one? Pineapple. Take other food, they will take it to a riverside and offer it as offering. When what they do it a lot. Because the more you honor the feminine energy, which is the water and then the earth element, the more you progress and you have good health. Because physical prosperity in terms of money and well-being, wealth, comes from the earth element, and then healing comes from the water element. Good health comes from the water, and then prosperity comes from the earth. And the fire and the air are the driving energies that gives effulgence or give capacity to these 2 elements. So you must understand this philosophy. Now, what is the moon and what does the moon does? First of all, you must understand that the moon is just a representation of the feminine energy at its apex. That's why the moon is a celestial body. And then the sun is also a celestial body. So there are 2 great lights in the firmament or in the heavens. And these 2 great lights, per what the Bible says, was supposed to rule over what? Over the earth. That is what the Bible says in the book of Psalms 121 verse 6, I think. It said, the sun shall not smite you by day, neither will the moon by night. So don't forget that in the earlier submission, I told you that even though these energies are there, they have effect on those who are not developed or who have not attained enlightenment. So when they say the sun shall not smite you by day, neither will the moon by night, it's talking about people who have attained spiritual enlightenment. So they transcend beyond this celestial body because they control this celestial body. That is where I tell you that at a certain level of awareness, astrology becomes insignificant to certain people because they've transcended that level of vibration frequency. But now majority of people are still under the influence of the sun and the moon. And that is why it is necessary for me to teach what I am teaching. Even though it is not the ultimate knowledge you need to have, but it is a relevant knowledge now per the level of majority of the people in this life. It becomes relevant. But actually, it wasn't something that should have been relevant as long as divinity in man was concerned. But because we have lost this, our divine nature, this less subtle energy has become necessary and relevant for our survival. And the sublime intelligence knows this day that a lot of people will remain ignorant or will be subjected to ignorance. So he made a provision for interim sustenance and influences till man gets full introspection into his full nature and his full ability. Then he will transcend these energies and then have control over these energies. So when we take out, let's go to Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. And God said, let us, before God said let us, then he has formed the water and then separated the earth and has brought the earth out. And when God said let said, he has created certain entities by which they call the creative spirits of God. Okay, which he with them created or manifested all other things. So when you go to verse 1, let's break it down so you understand it better. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So the waters was there. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And he saw that the light was good, and God created the light, and God divided the light from the darkness. So we are talking about the duality. This light and darkness they are talking about the duality. So that the God we are referring here is the source. Okay, the God we are referring here is the source. And the source created the duality, which is the darkness and the light. That is the duality. So the darkness was not evil, because if it was evil, it wouldn't have been relevant. You understand? So the darkness represented the feminine energy, and then the light represents what? The masculine energy. So this is the duality of energy we are talking about. Now, but God needed an entity through which it to transmit or it to serve as an embodiment, because once are they creating a manifest world, so it deals with tangibility. So it needs an embodiment that will harness that energy to control. You get the whole thing. It needs an embodiment that will harness that energy to control. So now when you come to verse 14, and God said, let us, and then God said, let there be light in the firmament. So he's creating, already he has created some light. That light he has created is not physical light, but he's talking about the duality of the energy, which is the masculine energy. But now they are going to create physical light. And that physical light is the container that will inhabit or will contain the energy of the masculine. And this is where people doesn't get them told who read the book of Genesis. Jacob say verse 1, God created light and darkness, and then when you come to verse 14, or say God created light again, and people are confusing. They just don't understand the phenomenon of creation. So the first light and darkness they are talking about was the split of the divine energy from the source, which is duality, which is the masculine energy and then the feminine energy. They were not physical light. It was talking about in terms of energy. Now, the second light which was being created in verse 14 was the tangible light, which is the degraded light form and the degraded darkness, in order for these energies to rule over that energy field. So when you come to verse 14, and God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for the years. So you notice that here God was trying to make that light and darkness tangible, because that first light, that God created was not tangible, because it is more of a subtle intelligence. But now God had to make this light and darkness more tangible so that it can create something we can relate with, which is time, seasons, days, and night. So the second light that was formed in the firmament was the tangibility. So the light was further graded from the subtle state to a more tangible state that we can relate with. So the sun that you see, there's an energy in the sun. And the moon that you see, there's an energy in the moon. But we cannot directly relate to this subtle energy until you have transcended all your five senses and you have transcended all the elements. So even the sun that you see, if you do proper transcendental meditation, there are beings that live on the sun and there are beings that live on the moon. So the second light that was created for this word of tangibility, so that we can see it and relate to it. So the moon that you see is not just this physical moon, it is the degraded light form. And then the sun that you see, it is not just this physical sun, it's a degraded light form of the masculine energy, and then the degraded light form of the feminine energy we call the moon. Now let's go further. It says that, and verse 15, and let there be light in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. So you realize that there were two great lights that were made. Those lights were tangible lights to harbor and harness the intangible energy of the masculine and the feminine energy, in order to be able to have effect on the earth and to rule in the affairs of men, to make life tangible on earth and to make existence possible. This is what it is. So the moon harness the feminine energy of the light form, because in the beginning was the pure light without duality, and that light we call God. So the feminine aspect of the light was channeled into the moon, and the masculine aspect of the light was channeled into the sun. And this was called the greater light and the lesser light. Why was it called the greater light and then the lesser light? Let me explain to you. It was called the sun that ruled the day was called the greater light, and that which rules the light was called the lesser light, because of the intensity of vibration or frequency that is being emitted. And the lesser light, what we call lesser, we call it lesser because it derives influence from the greater. I will break it down to how come conception takes place. So the greater light, which is the sun, feeds energy to the moon, which is the lesser light. So the energy of the lesser light is like a receptacle that receives the energy of the greater light in order to harbor that light and make it useful on the earth, to make light tangible. So that is what it is. Now, the feminine energy, which is the receptive energy or the receptacle, always receives from the masculine energy, which is the giver of the light. Now, all these two lights is coming from the same source, beyond duality. And that is why everything in this world has always been a giver and a receiver. Anything you think of in this lifetime, to make anything productive and possible in this life, it has always been about the feminine energy and the masculine energy operating at a mutual understanding and a mutual balance. When the balance is thrown off, there will be chaos. And let me give a few classical examples. You notice that the woman genitalia is a receptacle. It's like a bowl. And the man's genitalia is like a pole. It stretches. So the woman's genitalia is recessive in nature, and the man's genitalia is progressive or active in nature. And that is why the gene for the feminine energy is a recessive gene, and the gene for the masculine energy is an active gene. All this in its plain intelligence. So that's what I'm saying, that if you want to understand God, sometimes you have to look at it from the natural phenomena. But the natural phenomena is the first point of call to understand that sublime intelligence. Because that's sublime intelligence. It's not a person. It operates based on principles. So from the source of the sublime intelligence lies what you call the divine principle before the creator comes. So the creator takes instruction from the divine principle, and the divine principle is influenced from the source. So everything, if you want to understand the intelligence, the sublime intelligence, and how it's intended things to be to unfold, you must study the natural phenomena. And that is why this elite and the civilized world spends a lot of money in expedition into nature. Because once you begin to understand the natural phenomena, you have a full grasp of the dynamics of existence, and you have control. So, as I said, the feminine genitalia is more of a recessive gene, just as the excess chromosomes, and then the masculine genitalia is more of an active gene. And that is how it does. Now, when we come to even our everyday lifetime, our everyday life, look at this pen. You can see this pen. This is a recessive, and this is active. So this enters into this one in order to keep the safety of this pen. So this is said to be the moon, and this is the sun. This is the feminine energy, and this is the masculine energy. And it's a principle that governs creation. When you want to cook food, you have a pot, and then you have a ladle, isn't it? The ladle is active, which is sending its energy in, and the pot is recessive, which is accommodating the effect of the ladle. This is the principle of life. When you talk about, let's say you're going to fetch water at the tap. You have the bucket, isn't it? And then the tap flows into the bucket. The bucket is the feminine energy, which is the recessive gene, and then the tap which is flowing, which is giving out the water, is the masculine energy, which is the active or proactive gene. So there must always be an active gene, which was called in the Bible the greater light, and there have to be a recessive gene, which you call what? The lesser light. It doesn't mean one is higher than the other, but they have to work in a balance. When it is thrown off balance, there will be spill. There will be chaos. And that is why when a tap is coming out and you pull the bucket out and there's no balance in alignment, the whole place becomes messy. That is why when you're cooking soup and the ladle doesn't fall on the distance, when you don't keep the ladle well, it may create a mess. That is why when you have a pen and then you don't close this thing well, the cork well, there's a tendency that you have a float. So everything in creation borders on this principle of balance within the masculine energy and then the feminine energy. I'm not here to spend my time on the masculine energy. I'm here to spend my time on the feminine energy. Because for far too long, the masculine energy has been given too much prominence in the world of manifest creation. And it has made us tilted and imbalanced And it's causing this chaotic and unpeaceful environment. It's about time we need to tilt it for us to attain the balance, so that life on earth would fulfill its original intention. So that is what it is. So we are looking at the feminine energy, which is represented by the moon in tangibility, in the word of tangibility, but the feminine energy is not the moon. Now, the mistake a lot of teachers do is that they make your attention go to the tangible creature and not educate you that there is a force beyond that tangible creature. And when you make your mind go to the tangible creature, which is the physical moon you see, then becomes an idol worship, which the sublime intelligence distorts. So a lot of people who do moon gazing, moon rituals, they are all doing it in the form of idol worship, because their notion and understanding of the act does not transcend the physical representation of the moon. So when the person wants to do, let's say the date says that this is the full moon, like let's say if, for instance, today is the full moon, and then he comes out and he doesn't see the moon because the cloud has covered the moon, he won't do his ritual. Even though the date shows that it's his full moon, or full moon started yesterday, when he comes out and he doesn't see the moon, he doesn't do the ritual. Why? Because it is more idolistic than dealing with the transcendent energy, or the energy beyond the energy in transcendence. So dealing with the moon is just a conduit to access the feminine energy, which is the force within manifest creation that causes progress and causes success. And this you must know. And this is even our brother Muslims also do the same mistake. They say that there's almost say Chinuya, isn't it? And they say that they will not celebrate us because the moon has not appeared in the stars. So it becomes more of an idol structure thing if you are not very conscious and you don't understand the dynamics. He has directed his thought to form, because the moon is a form. You can see it, you can feel it, you can experience it. So it is form. But we are not supposed to deal with form. We must deal with the formlessness, where the formlessness is the true energy that runs the form. When you deal with the form, then it becomes a shrine, it becomes a deity, it becomes an idol. That's the right word to use. So when you look at the moon, it is just to be a pictorial facade that gives you the concentration mind to be able to send your energy to the formless energy that transmits through that physical round thing you call the moon. Now the energy comes in different phases. When we say the moon phases, or your teachers who teach you about the moon, you never see me teach about moon ritual before, because I've never taught you about moon ritual before. But when I teach about moon ritual, you go and do it, there's no way to fail. Because what I teach about moon rituals, or when I was doing my moon rituals, it's not the way they teach you. You see, so the moon comes in different phases, isn't it? So it has the first quarter, it has the full moon, we have the new moon, we have the third quarter, which is the last quarter, and we have other kind of moon phases in between, like the waxing moon, the gibbon moon, the waning moon, and all those things. They are in between the four major moon phases. So the moon actually comes in four major phases with sub phases within it. So the major phases of the moon that come is the new moon, then we have the first quarter moon, and then we have the third quarter moon, and then we have the full moon. Now this is what it means by the new moon. The new moon is when the moon has harnessed its fresh energy and is about to, the feminine energy has harnessed its fresh energy and is about to release it onto the earth to bless the earth. That is what we call the new moon. It's the fresh energy of the feminine frequency to release its energy to cause, like you want to plow a land, and you sow the land, and the first time you water the land, that is the full moon. That is the exertion of the feminine energy in its fullness and its fresh capacity. Now, and then we have the first quarter of the moon is like the moon phase is divided into three. Okay, so the first quarter, and I'm going to end the presentation on this one. We're supposed to continue the next session. The first quarter, which is like the moon phase divided into three, a portion of the feminine energy which is reduced. And then we are the last quarter, which is the last phase of the moon, and then we have the full moon. So we are talking about the exertion of the feminine energy vibrational frequency on Earth space, but not the shape you see there. You get it? But not the face you see there. The picture of the moon you see there is not it, but it is only representing the gravity of energy which is being released by the feminine force in this physical dimension. You get it? You get what I'm trying to say? Now, when you talk about the moon, so we talk about the phases of the moon. When you talk about the phases of the moon, then we'll break and then we'll come to part 2, because we need to have part 2 of this one to take time to explain. I'm going to take it moon phase by moon phase. Now, in order for me to forget, I've arranged it this way. Now, the new moon, this which represents a new beginning, that means the feminine energy releases amount of force that gives anything within manifest space the ability to start something. So in the new moon phase, that is the period you can initiate a project, start an idea, commence with something. Because in the new moon, the feminine energy has galvanized a fresh force which is blessing the universe with it. And it is the first appearance of the moon between the earth and then the sun. Now then we have the first quarter. The first quarter is the halfway between the new moon and then the full moon. You see, when the feminine energy is between the new moon and the full moon, it's what you call the first quarter. That energy is not too intense, and that one too has what you use for. That kind of energy has what it's meant to aid in this physical dimension, and that is meant to aid actions. You see, so maybe you conceive an idea. The best time to, maybe I want to go and see Abraham for some money, okay? And when do I take the action of the money? It is best to make a move to go to him and seek for the money in the first quarter of the moon. So when you have certain tough business people, I'm not going to details right now, I'm just giving you the skirmishes of it. When you have a top business project and you want to travel to go and meet the business investor to talk about the business which you have initiated in the new moon, the best time to work on this thing, to take that initiative, make that action, is what? In the first quarter. Now, and then we have the full moon. Now, the full moon is basically when the entire moon is in its full illumination, exerting its energy, the fullness of its energy within the earth space. So you can imagine how much energy is being released. Then we have the third quarter of the moon, which is the last quarter or the last phase of the moon, and it has to do with reflection. So that time the moon is going into recession. The feminine energy is going to recession. So that is the last quarter. So that's the time for you to reflect. Maybe probably wanting to, what do I do? Okay, this and that, is it good? So we are reflecting, awaiting the new moon with a fresh energy to start something, to commence. So it is not just about the physical moon you are seeing. If you focus your attention on the physical moon, it is an idol worship. And you will hardly have the results. Because you are connecting to the physical structure, but you are not connecting to the soul of the moon. Permit me to use that word, the soul of the moon. But that which brings your answers is the soul of the moon. It's the energy that runs through the moon. The moon has no energy. The moon, as you see, is like this physical body. There's something in this physical body that makes me talk, that makes me walk, that makes me look the way I look. If you focus your attention on my physical body like this, you may lose the mark. And that's why some people see some The woman is so beautiful, so he looks at the physical body, bring the woman home as a wife. He looks at the physical body, this woman is nice, so let me take him as a wife. I bring him out, and he becomes pissed off because when that which runs the physical body begins to exhibit itself, is something he doesn't like. It's baller. That's why some women to see some men, they are very handsome, tall. They look at the physical structure, forgetting that there's something inside which is running the physical structure, and that is the real essence. Then they look at the physical structure and bring the physical structure home, looking so appealing and beautiful. And when the man begins to show his true character, he wish he never married that man. So, likewise, there is an essence beyond this physical moon, and you must be trained to connect to that essence. If you are not trained to connect to that essence, all this ritual they tell you, hey, when it is new moon, do this, do that, it won't work. That's why you are doing those things and it never works. Because your frequency is unable to connect to the frequency of the essence that is transmitting and emitting through the physical structure or the physical facet you call the moon. Because the moon you see there was created to harness the feminine energy. So the feminine energy is the essence beyond the moon that exerts that frequency and influence upon anything within this physical dimension. And I can tell you without fact and without fear and without any iota of doubt that everything that would have life on earth must be connected to the feminine energy. Nothing on earth. Those who doubt me, they can bring the argument. Nothing on earth can have life without darkness. So when they tell you in the church, praying against the powers of darkness, the pastor is ignorant. Because it is the powers of darkness that give light. The powers of darkness that gives life to everything in this dimension. You, as you see there, you pray against the powers of darkness, but the hall in which you were accommodated to, for you to have your life and beingness, is called the womb of darkness. That is why when a woman is pregnant, they don't want to have too much light scan into a womb, where it has a tendency to do what? To cause a fetal abortion. When too much light is, when you are pregnant and they have these ultra scans and the baby is not too mature, the seed is not too mature, the embryo is not, and there's too much, always you are going for scanning, he has a tendency to abort the baby. Ask any medical doctor. Because light destroys life at the fundamental level. But at the mature level, light sustains life. This is the dynamic. It's an irony. You must understand it. That is why when you put a seed of corn in the soil and you don't cover it, it's scarce to germinate. You understand? And even if it germinates, it's hard to make fruit. You need to cover it to enter into darkness for the energy of dark, which is the feminine energy, to give it the necessary grace it needs to be able to blossom and germinate. Somebody should come and tell me if he has seen a plant germinating in daylight. Me, they have not seen it. My argument is on what I've seen in nature and natural phenomena. If somebody have ever sat down like this, daytime, and they have seen a plant germinate, he should come and tell me. Because all plants in the form of seed germinate at night. If somebody have ever sat down to see a flower blossom or burst into nature in daylight, you should come and tell me. If you have a mango tree in your house and you have seen the flower of the mango tree come out in daylight, come and tell me. Or you have a mango tree in your house and you have seen the fruit of the mango, the small fruit, come out in daytime, come and tell me. All we see is that by the time we see in the evening when you're going to see that there's no fruit there, but by the time we wake up in the morning, the fruit is there. So life in existence is determined and manifested by the feminine energy. And the illuminary or the physical container that serves as a contact point through which we can connect to this feminine energy that sustains life is the moon. So today I am taking you into deep so that you understand, because I've seen all this moon ritual, and I say, you are talking about moon ritual to people who doesn't understand even the whole psychology and the whole essence and how this whole dynamics work. How would they have their results? And that is why you're doing all these moon rituals. And for me, as some of the things they teach you, I don't just have time for it, because my mission is not in that area. My mission is to bring you to a higher awareness, so that when you get to that higher awareness, everything I am telling you, you will naturally understand it and you can implement it without following anybody. But this is the teach you. I can teach 100 times more, and in the proper way that you will get your results. It doesn't fail. But the key word is that you must harness the necessary capacity and energy to be able to connect to the frequency. Because one can say when you're activated, one can say you don't even know how to concentrate, you don't know visualization, you don't know anything, you don't even know the figurative nature of the non-tangible feminine energy. You don't know how it looks like. How do you even visualize it? So they'll use the moon as a symbol for you. But the feminine energy, how does it look like? How does it, when the feminine energy is exhibiting itself within tangibility, or the word of tangibility, how does it express itself? Because there are 4 things in manifest creation that express itself. It expresses itself in the form of geometry. It expresses itself in the form of numerology, which is numerics, which is mathematical metrics. It reflects itself in color balance, and it reflects itself in light and sound. And this is the formation of the world of manifest creation. So everything within manifest world is geometry. It's numerological. It's colored. And it's light and contains sound. This is what the whole phenomenon of creation is all about. And once you understand some of these things, it's easier when you sit down to do money ritual. It's easier to get your results. Somebody said, I was telling somebody last the Saturday that anything you see the devil doing, the energy we call Satan, anything you see doing, he has no intelligence on his own. He learned it from the sublime intelligence. So it's only tell you that you can live your life and God will bless you in many ways. That beats your imagination. And it is happening. Calculate how much you are paid a month. And calculate how much you spend a month. And tell me that's a Sikidu Nima. There are monies you spend that you have not worked for, yet you get it and spend it. We all have that experience. So we must understand the phenomenon of resistance. When you understand the phenomenon of resistance, then we begin to live life effortless. And to live life effortless, we must depend on the feminine energy. So this is what I want you to understand. We are going to take the moon phases one after the other and try to understand what kind of influence they exert on the planet Earth and how we can take advantage of them. So maybe we'll take the full moon, then I'll only treat the full moon and explain the full moon, the kind of energy it exerts on the planet Earth, at what time and what calculations, and then what do you do? Well, what do you do? Do I have to teach it? So then how do you take advantage of it? Then we take the first quarter, we take the last quarter, and we take the full moon. In between it are other moon phases that for me is not too necessary, because they use it to do much more lesser prayer activity. And even as a Christian, if you are praying, you must pray for material gain. You must pray according to the phases of the moon. And for your spiritual development, you pray according to the phases of the sun. Because when you want spirituality, it's from the sun. If you want materialism, it's from the moon. And the two is kept in a balance to make life prosperous in life. To make life very prosperous. So I want to thank you for your time. I hope and pray you would understand what I have said, and I am telling you the ultimate truth. Don't deal with the physical sun. Learn to go beyond the physical sun to connect to the essence, which is the feminine energy. In the next video, I'll explain much more. If I want to explain all about feminism, it's going to be something else. So as we go on to the various phases, each phase, I'll give a preamble to give a better explanation as we pickle down with the rest of the faces. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Stay blessed with me in the next video or the next session. Say bye-bye for now. Bye-bye still all touching.